These agents are just going to be looking for all of the things that meet the preferences and needs of their users, their human users. It's just how that information ends up being conveyed and presented. I think that's really an interesting question. Why does an agent need to sit and watch a fancy, flashy video ad or a reel or something like that when all of that information can just be instantly processed in code? So do we all just have a database of code now that are open and accessible to these purchasing agents now at all times? Do we no longer have to advertise to prospects that have agents with payments enabled, just their agents? These are kind of the questions that we have asked before on this show, and the questions that I think about when literally people are going to have their own AI buying agents.
Welcome to the AI Marketing Navigator, where we simplify AI marketing to keep you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by Digital Pop, delivering AI marketing automation so your small business thrives. Here's your host, Alex Carlson.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the AI Marketing Navigator. This is your daily compass in the ever-evolving world of AI marketing. Okay, Navigators, we are back with, I think, an episode that is much bigger than it might appear on the surface. Tonight, we are talking about the news that the credit card companies Mastercard and Visa have unveiled their agent pay and intelligent commerce systems, in which they plan to allow AI agents to access payment options on behalf of customers and consumers. So essentially, our AI agents have now reached a level in their development where they're getting their first major credit cards. So tonight we're going to dive into the details of this announcement, and then we're going to talk about what this means specifically for marketing. This is the next step in a progression that we have discussed many times on this show in regards to how our marketing could potentially and now definitely will need to change. But first things first, a quick overview of the details. And actually before that, just a huge shout out as always to the rundown.ai newsletter. This was actually the first story in today's newsletter. I didn't even finish reading it. I knew this is what we were going to have to be talking about tonight. So anyway, thanks as always to the rundown.ai. Check them out if you haven't already. Again, these programs, intelligent commerce in the case of Visa and Agent Pay in the case of MasterCard, are going to allow agents to search and browse for products that fit a certain set of criteria or needs. We all know just how well Amazon knows exactly what we want to shop for and what we want to buy. You can imagine how well these AI agents are going to know exactly what we want and exactly what we need. And then we'll be able to make those purchases on our behalf. So again, I think this is much bigger news than it may initially appear for just e-commerce in general. So these platforms are really very much the same in what they're kind of offering, but let's just start with intelligent commerce, the Visa agent payment system. The announcement comes with a new package of tools in the form of an API for intelligent commerce. So that's going to allow developers to create these quote-unquote AI-ready cards, which are essentially just digital versions of cards with payment details that can be used by these agents. And then these consumers and customers are going to be able to set their preferences. So there's going to be certain conditions for the agents to follow, such as spending limits and interests and previous purchases and ratings and all of that stuff. And this also brings up all the usual conversations around security and fraud. What happens if one of these agents gets hacked or just goes on a wild spending spree trying to party with all of its agent buddies. But the announcement comes with all the usual assurances about data authentication and tokenization, as well as existing fraud coverage and systems that the credit card companies have in place. Also a big deal, this is going to penetrate deeply into the AI market with existing partnerships including Anthropic and OpenAI and Microsoft and Stripe. And honestly, I don't have a single online subscription except maybe one or two that I can think of that is not managed by Stripe anymore. Also Samsung, so basically any platform that a buyer might be on and might be using AI on will likely have one, if not both of these payment options available. Again, to me, this is kind of like a second wave of digital payment, of online payment. It's an even more frictionless way to make purchases. Honestly, I don't know if you're gonna have to approve every single purchase or see them as they come through, but maybe if you don't have to approve them or see them, it could be even more addicting because it's like you're getting little presents or gifts from the AI or something. Again, I suppose you'll probably have to approve a purchase before it comes through, but maybe you could change that setting or something and have the AI surprise you. I think it would be a good setting to have anyway. But there's no doubt that as this technology makes its way into the AI platforms that are being used, and then as we always talk about, those AI platforms make their way into the hands of more and more adopters, we will start to see and understand more just how much this is going to transform e-commerce especially. So again, as far as the implementation and the tech goes, it's really much of the same for MasterCard's Agent Pay. They're also going to have a tokenization based system. They're going to require their agents go through a little bit of an extra layer of security, apparently with a registration and authorization process. They're also going to be integrating with major AI platforms. So basically parallel offerings again from Mastercard and Visa, both making a huge swing here and really staking their claim in the brand new AI payments space. And if you've been listening to the show for a while, first of all, thank you, truly. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But you may know of a little playlist on the channel called Marketing Futurism. And a lot of what we talked about on those episodes, if I recall correctly, there's been a lot of episodes, is we talked about what happens when we no longer really market to our prospects and consumers online, but instead we market to their AI assistants, their AI agents. We talked about what that might look like, how we might have to learn to market to agents instead of humans. And now with this announcement, it is absolutely becoming a reality. We now see this next step, this next phase of marketing and purchasing online. And as we mentioned initially, these agents are just going to be looking for all of the things that meet the preferences and needs of their users, their human users. It's just how that information ends up being conveyed and presented. I think that's really an interesting question. Why does an agent need to sit and watch a fancy, flashy video ad or a reel or something like that when all of that information can just be instantly processed in code? So do we all just have a database of code now that are open and accessible to these purchasing agents now at all times? Do we no longer have to advertise to prospects that have agents with payments enabled, just their agents? These are kind of the questions that we have asked before on this show and the questions that I think about when literally people are going to have their own AI buying agents. And I think this makes now a couple of marketing futurism concepts that have actually come to be reality since we started recording this show, which is just a perfect example of how fast this space that we all find ourselves in is moving. Okay, I'm gonna go get started on building the perfect landing page for an AI agent that just got its first major credit card. And I don't know, you might want to do the same. Okay, that does it for tonight's episode. If you enjoyed the show or found it useful in any way, please do me a favor and follow on Spotify or subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. A review on top of that would be even more appreciated. It is by far the most helpful thing you could do for the show. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you get notified each day when our episode drops. Until then, and as always, thank you so much for joining me, and remember to stay curious, stay consistent, and keep navigating forward. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the AI Marketing Navigator. Ready to simplify your own marketing automation? Digital Pop helps make it happen so your small business can scale your marketing fast. Learn more at thedigitalpop.com.